Нет, нет,
Три.
нет, нет. Час, два, три, четыре, если надо. Столько, сколько нужно президенту Путину.
Be able to make a deal relatively soon with Russia and Ukraine to stop the fighting. It's so senseless. It's such a horrible thing. It would have never happened if I were president, but it did happen, and we were given that card. And I think we're going to get it. I think we're going to get it stopped. Got to get going. We got to get it. We have to move it faster.
This is my video update on this Friday midday, April the 11th, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And the big story for today is that Witkoff is on his way to Russia. I believe he is about to land in St. Petersburg. I don't think he's going to Moscow. I think he's going to St. Petersburg, and he is going to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. This has been confirmed by the Kremlin. Peskov has confirmed Witkoff's trip and the meeting with the Russian president. This is going to be the third meeting between Putin and Witkoff. And I have to tell you, this is a very good sign. This is a very encouraging sign to see Witkoff meeting with Putin, not Rubio or Waltz or Kellogg or any of these guys meeting with the Russian president. It is Witkoff. Actually, I don't think Rubio or Waltz, well, Kellogg hasn't had any contact with the Russians, but Rubio and Waltz, I think the highest level official that they've met with is Lavrov in Riyadh. But Witkoff has met with the Russian president 2 times, and we will have a 3rd time. This is a very good sign. Perhaps Witkoff is going to accept Istanbul Plus, June 2024 terms. Maybe that's what we're going to see happening. He could be going to meet with Putin to talk about Phase 3 of the ceasefire, which is a non-starter, but it's possible, but I doubt it. Witkoff was never hot on the ceasefire plan. That's Kellogg and Waltz. What Witkoff has always talked about was Istanbul. He has always been talking about the Istanbul 2022 agreement, which Boris Johnson sabotaged. And he told Tucker Carlson, he pretty much told Tucker Carlson that the Istanbul Plus could be a possible deal. He didn't phrase it like that, but that was his message to Tucker Carlson when he sat down with Tucker for an interview about a month ago. So he could be going there to talk about June 2024 terms and winding down the conflict in Ukraine, or at least ensuring that the U.S. is out of Project Ukraine. That could be option number 1, or option number 2, which I find unlikely, is that he could be going there to talk about Phase 3 ceasefire. And if Russia doesn't agree to an unconditional ceasefire, then you're going to see secondary sanctions on Russian oil, which is something that Lindsey Graham and other members in Congress have already prepared. If Russia doesn't agree to an unconditional ceasefire, then Lindsey Graham is saying that the United States will place 500% sanctions on Russian secondary oil. Why 500%? Why not make it 10 million%? Anyway, I think Witkoff is going to talk about Istanbul Plus. That would be my guess. And about business, doing business. Witkoff also met a couple of days ago Dmitriev, the investment fund's chief, who was in Washington. And Witkoff sat down with Dmitriev. Possibly Trump was at that meeting because it took place in the White House. So maybe they're also going to talk about doing business, normalizing relations and doing business. Anyway, it is an encouraging sign to see Witkoff traveling to Russia, possibly already in Russia. Axios reported Trump envoy Witkoff travels to Russia to meet with Putin. While Ukraine agreed to Trump's proposal for an unconditional ceasefire and subsequently agreed to plans for a smaller scale maritime ceasefire, Russia made a series of new demands, including the lifting of some U.S. sanctions. We are making progress. We hope that we are getting relatively close to getting a deal between Russia and Ukraine to stop the fighting, Trump said on Thursday during a cabinet meeting. Axios is lying here. Fake news from Axios, where they say that Russia is to blame for the fact that the two ceasefire phases did not pan out the way they were supposed to. It was Ukraine that broke the ceasefire, the energy ceasefire. They've been breaking it every single day. Not Russia's fault, Ukraine's fault. And as far as the maritime ceasefire goes, Russia was basically saying, look, if you want us to take part in the maritime ceasefire, the sanctions on the Russian Agricultural Bank, it needs to be lifted, and the EU needs to do this. And the EU said, no, we're not going to lift those sanctions. So Axios is trying to make it seem as if Russia's to blame for the fact that the two ceasefires did not work out or are not working out. Fake news from Axios. But Trump did say yesterday in a cabinet meeting that we are getting closer to some sort of a deal. And now you have Witkoff in Russia. So Blinken, he gave an interview. Blinkety Blinken, he is back. Blinken is back, baby, rocking in the free world. Blinken, and you know he's preparing the ground for blaming Trump for Russian victory in Project Ukraine. That was basically the point of Blinken's interview. He talked about how the Biden administration, they would have problems with their Ukrainian friends. Those are the words that he used, with our Ukrainian friends, every now and again. But we always remained united. Blinken made it a point to say that the U.S. and its allies and Ukraine, they always remained united, and they never forgot, according to Blinken, that Russia was and is the aggressor and Ukraine is the victim in all of this. That was pretty much what Blinken said in this interview. He was actually asked about the rare earth minerals deal as well. And Blinken admitted that the Biden White House also had a rare earth minerals deal. He said it was part of the Zelensky victory plan, which is actually true. Zelensky is the first person that brought up minerals, Ukraine resources for security. And it was in that victory plan. And he also told it to Lindsey Graham as well. Take our resources and in exchange, give me money and weapons. So Blinken also talked about this as well.
Did we have frustrations occasionally with our Ukrainian friends, including President Zelensky? Sure. Did we show that in public when it happened? No, because it's so important that there be a clear united front. And you can't lose sight of the fundamental, which is there's an aggressor, right, and that's Russia. There's a victim, and that's Ukraine. And it's unfortunate that the focus got taken off of that and on
fair to ask for or try to take rare earth minerals or other kinds of remuneration for our help.
Yes, and in fact, part of the victory package that President Zelensky put on the table in the last 6 months of our administration included us working with them.
But the main point of the Blinken interview was to pave the way for putting the blame on Trump if Project Ukraine falls apart. So Trump has to get a deal. He needs to get a deal going, or he needs to walk away. Or both. Get some sort of a deal with Russia and walk away. Trump needs to do something like that quickly. Very quickly. And it can happen. It can happen today. It's not a hard thing to achieve for the U.S. to get out of Project Ukraine. It's actually quite easy when you think about it. They've got the terms. Putin has laid out the terms. Everyone knows what those terms are. But if Trump doesn't get out of Project Ukraine in the next couple of months, you can see that Blinken and all of these guys are ready to blame everything on Trump, on his administration. So he needs to get out of this. Because look, the Biden drawdown package, it is going to end in a couple of months. So the weapons are going to stop flowing to Ukraine, the money and the weapons. And the Russians are possibly going to be on the offensive as well in a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks to a couple of months, there is a possible big Russian offensive, possibly in two directions, from the south and from Sumy, from the north. This is possible. So you could have an offensive. You could have the drawdown package ending, which would mean that Ukraine either stops getting weapons and money from the U.S., or that Trump is going to have to go to Congress and ask for another $50 or $60 billion package, which is never going to fly. That's not going to happen. Another 50 or 60 billion package approved to go to Ukraine. That's going to look terrible. So we are coming to some sort of an end game. That's an update there on everything that is happening with Trump, White House, and Ukraine. We also have the good news, more good news, that the U.S. ambassador to Kiev is preparing to resign. Bridget Brink, that's her name. Bridget Brink, who was appointed by Biden in 2022 to be the ambassador to Ukraine. She is resigning. This is also good news. Very good news. She does not agree with Trump's direction. She definitely knows something that we probably don't know, which is causing her to resign. She's a war hawk. She was a big-time supporter of the Biden, Blinken, Sullivan escalation in Ukraine. And for her to resign means that she is not on board with Trump's plan for Project Ukraine. So she's jumping ship. She was coordinating as ambassador to Ukraine. She was without a doubt coordinating all kinds of money flows, of weapons flows, of information flows back and forth from Ukraine and the United States. I mean, that was what she was there to do. I imagine she also did a lot of Zelensky babysitting as ambassador to Ukraine. Lots of billions and billions of dollars from the Biden administration flowing in and out of Ukraine. Lots of money flowing in and out of Ukraine. Lots of media propaganda coming out of Ukraine. Lots of weapons, lots of everything. And she was right there, smack in the middle of it all. The U.S. ambassador to Kiev. So today we are getting some strong indications that something could be on the way for Project Ukraine, some sort of resolution or some sort of end game being planned for Project Ukraine. Then again, this could all change tomorrow. You never know. Tomorrow, you could get a statement from the Trump administration saying that he's upset with Putin. Again, who knows? This could all change tomorrow. Today, the indications are positive. Tomorrow, we could have a different story. So let's stay with Ukraine and let's talk about the UK. According to the Telegraph, British troops could be stationed in Ukraine for 5 years if there is a Trump ceasefire, an unconditional ceasefire, which is never going to be approved by Russia. But you can, if you're the Telegraph, you can dream. If you're the UK, you can dream that this is what's going to happen, an unconditional ceasefire. And if that does happen, then according to the Telegraph, British troops could be deployed in Ukraine for 5 years. You have the AFP. They are reporting that 6 of the 30 countries in the coalition of the willing have signed up to send troops to Ukraine if there is an unconditional ceasefire. 6 countries from a total of 30 of the coalition of the willing. What are the 6 countries? UK, France, the 3 Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and the 6th country which no one knows, which has not been named. I'm thinking Denmark. Denmark is the 6th country, country number 6. This is a new development in Nicosia. Used to be the Hilton Hotel. Now it's a new development called the Landmark, and it'll be a hotel and apartments, stuff like that. But yeah, 6 countries of 30, according to the AFP. The British Defense Minister, what did he say about all of this stuff? Our planning is real and substantial. Our plans are well developed, UK Defense Minister John Healey told the meeting. Our reassurance force, that's right, it's a reassurance force for Ukraine, would be a committed and credible security arrangement to ensure that any negotiated peace does bring what Trump has pledged, a lasting peace for Ukraine. That's right, it's not a peacekeeping force anymore. The 6 countries that would be participating in some sort of troop deployment in Ukraine has nothing to do with peacekeeping. It's all about reassurance. Reassurance. We're here to reassure you. Reassure us of what? I don't know. We're just here to reassure you. Swedish Defense Minister Paul Johnson highlighted a number of questions that we need to get clarified before it can make any promises. It's helpful if there's a clarity of what that mission would entail and what we do if we are peacekeeping, deterrence, or reassurance, he said. Yeah, so that's Sweden. Basically saying, you know, we're not going to send troops to Ukraine until we understand what exactly they are going to be doing there. Are they peacekeeping? Are they a deterrence force? Or are they a reassurance force? They're a reassurance force, Mr. Defense Minister of Sweden. If you send troops to Ukraine, they're going to go there to reassure. Reassure Zelensky. That's what they're going to do. So the European Union They are warning the Trump administration. That's right, Ursula is on the attack. Ursula is on the offensive. She gave an interview to the Financial Times, and basically what Ursula said is that if there is no tariff trade deal between the United States in 90 days, and the tariffs snap back on, the reciprocal tariffs, not the 10% blanket tariffs, if Trump decides to put back into place the reciprocal tariffs against the EU, 20% total reciprocal tariffs, then Ursula warned the Trump administration that the EU is going to hit the US really hard. And they're going to hit the US really hard on services, especially digital services. So basically, Ursula, after the 90-day pause announcement and all of the chaos that followed after the 90-day pause announcement, basically Ursula and the European Union, they are sensing weakness, and they are now issuing threats and warnings to the United States. Completely expected and predictable. That's the way these globalists operate. When they sense any sort of uncertainty, then they really go to hit you hard. And that is what Ursula is basically messaging to the Trump administration. EU to Trump on tariffs, will retaliate when we're ready, not when you tweet. Brussels suspended its countermeasures against the US president's steel and aluminum tariffs before they even took effect. Now the two sides have 90 days to do a deal. And from the Financial Times, the EU could tax big tech if Trump trade talks fail, says Ursula von der Leyen. We are developing retaliatory measures, von der Leyen said, adding that these could include the first use of the EU's anti-coercion mechanism to hit services rather than goods. There's a wide range of countermeasures in case the negotiations are not satisfactory. An example is you could put a levy on the advertising revenues of digital services, she added, outlining a measure that would apply across the bloc's entire single market on top of digital sales taxes set individually by member states. So what Ursula is saying is that the EU will tax big tech ad sales on top of everything else that they could be taxing. They're going to go after services, especially digital services and big tech, especially hard if after 90 days there's no kind of deal or resolution to the tariff and trade talks, which haven't started yet. We haven't had any trade talks take place at all. Not between the US and anybody, with the exception, I believe, of Vietnam. Vietnam kind of had some tariff trade talks, which the US completely turned down. Whatever offer Vietnam put to the US turned down these offers. This was about five days ago when the tariffs were first announced, the Liberation Day tariffs. Vietnam was, I believe, the only country that has put an offer to the United States. Outside of Vietnam, we've had no deals at all signed, and I don't even think we've had any meetings which have taken place. The landmark exclusive sky villas for sale. You can do yoga, everybody. You can wake up in Nicosia and do yoga by your swimming pool. That's the life, right? All right, so Shifty Shift, he is also sensing some chaos and uncertainty after the tariff pause, and he is calling for an investigation for market manipulation. That is what Shifty Shift said yesterday, which is very interesting coming from the Democrats. Nancy Pelosi, the greatest stock trader in all of history, and now they're saying that there's market manipulation happening on the Trump side of things, and Schiff is calling for an investigation. Of course, nothing's going to happen. Now, nothing is going to happen, but if there is some sort of a disaster during the midterms, and the Democrats take control of Congress, then basically Schiff is signaling one of the tracks that the Democrats may go down, one of the paths they may go down in order to go after Trump. The market manipulation from all the ups and downs of the stock markets, all the volatility. And Trump's message before he announced the tariff pause, where he talked about it being a good time to buy. So that's what Schiff is focusing on. Shifty Schiff. So let's do a clown world and wrap this video up. And today's clown world, not much of a clown world. I guess it's a clown world. China raises tariffs on U.S. goods from 84% to 125%, given that there is no possibility of market acceptance for U.S. goods exported to China under the current tariff levels. China will ignore any subsequent tariff increases by the U.S. on Chinese goods exported to the U.S. Basically, what China is saying here, now that they've raised the tariffs from 84 to 125%, is that these numbers now are irrelevant. Going forward, whatever number you tack on to the tariffs, it's meaningless, because with these numbers, there's no possibility of any type of trade to take place. So you can retaliate with 150% tariffs if you're the United States, and then China can retaliate with 200% tariffs. It's all meaningless now. With these types of numbers, there's going to be no trade between the United States and China. So that's kind of the clown world. I will end the video there, theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like what I'm wearing in today's video. The link is in the description box down below. Use the code SPRING15 to get 15% off all merch. I will see everybody tomorrow. Take care.